This is Fat to Fierce. Welcome to the Confidence Chronicles. I'm your host, Amy English. Join me on this empowering adventure towards a healthier relationship with food, body, and self, one delicious bite at a time. Hello. I hope you're having a great week so far. And I'm not sure what the weather is like where you are, but we are definitely getting a cold snap here in North Georgia. It's chilly today at the beginning of April, right? It's the first full week of April and it's cold. So wherever you are, I hope you are staying warm and dry because we've also had a lot of rain here. Anyway, I hope your week is going great. That's what I want to say. And today we have a fun and interesting topic to talk about on the Confidence Chronicles. We're going to focus on thoughts, okay? The way we're thinking, the way you're thinking, the thoughts you think on a daily, regular basis. Thoughts are such an important part of any internal work, raising self-awareness, building your confidence, and yes, overcoming emotional eating. Thoughts play a pivotal role in all of the self-improvement, self-development work. And that is because I'm going to make a bold statement right now. And I truly, truly believe this. The thoughts you think are just as important, if not more important, than the food you eat. All right. We hear so much in the world about eating healthy, right? Choosing healthy food. And I'm using finger quotes because listen, a lot of the stuff that's labeled as healthy is not good for you. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I started working with a dietitian at the end of last year, and it has been mind-blowing to realize the food, some of the food that I thought was okay for me was that was, healthy and nutritious and a good choice, a powerful choice. It's just filled with a bunch of crap. When you really start to pay attention to the ingredients that are in certain foods and you know what to look for, it is eye-opening to realize that even the stuff described as healthy is just wreaking havoc on our bodies. And with that said, are there times when I eat things regardless of the ingredients? Yes, there are. I have not switched all of our food to to like all natural things because people have favorites and they like to eat certain things. But man, we've definitely started switching out a lot of things like eggs. And I know eggs are a hot topic these days because they are so outrageously expensive. But we did make the switch from cage free to pasture raised eggs on the advice of my dietitian. And yes, they're a little bit more expensive, but the way I see it, they're better for you because the chickens are pasture raised, right? Not farm raised, and like are in some sort of a environment that where they're eating a bunch of crap. So it's just interesting, and we haven't changed everything, but little by little we're changing things like that. And my son, who is 15 years old and thinks nothing of having an omelet with 4 eggs, I basically said, I'm like, hey, listen, we're getting the pasture raised eggs now. They're a little bit pricier. You're switching to a 2-egg omelet. Have some fruit with it. Have some veggies with it, right? Have some toast with it. 2 eggs, not 4. And they're pricey. All right. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. Okay, so I was talking about healthy food, right? So just noticing how some of the food we think is healthy is not really healthy. Okay, that was my point in that little rant. But my other point prior to that was that, we're so focused on healthy food, which is important, okay, as we've just talked about, but there's little to no discussion on the thoughts we're thinking. And the thoughts play such a pivotal role in how we feel about ourselves. I mean, think about it, okay? Think about it, your thoughts, okay? You see my little pun there? When we are trying to be healthy by eating the right things, exercising, all that stuff, but we still are internally thinking terrible thoughts about ourselves, okay? And we're criticizing ourselves, and there's harsh judgment, and we're just saying things that are not helpful or beneficial, okay? When we're believing stories that we've been told over the years, when we're believing the critiques we've heard from other people, okay? It's not helpful. It's not supportive. It's not healthy. Okay. When you're constantly believing a negative narrative about yourself and telling yourself these things, you're going to be left feeling like crap. Okay. And I think, and this is what I mean when I say the thoughts you're thinking are more important than the food you're eating. When you think about it, think about consuming. Okay. You're consuming food. You're also consuming thoughts. You're consuming the thoughts you think about yourself. Okay. So take an inventory. Like, this is an opportunity to just get real and be honest with yourself. And I'm not going to tell you this is fun, all right, in the beginning, but it is incredibly important to in the process of healing, in the process of building self-trust and confidence. It is incredibly important to take an inventory of the thoughts you're thinking so that you can see which ones are getting in your way, which thoughts are creating the sabotage loop. Okay. Think of it like this. If you're, I'm going to just use the analogy that's coming up in my head right now. Like, say you're in a house and there is just clutter all over the place. Okay. Like, you don't even know which way to look. Like, there is just stuff everywhere. Okay. Are you just going to start throwing everything in the garbage? I mean, maybe, right? But you're going to start to take a look. You're going to take an inventory, right? You're going to take an inventory of what's around you, of what's there, and determine what you want to keep and what you want to get rid of, what you're no longer using anymore, what's become outdated, maybe what's become stale. Okay. How often do you clean out your fridge, right? Or your pantry, right? How many people have stuff in the pantry with dates like 5, 6 years ago? And listen, when I moved, I discovered that stuff. I mean, I've moved many times, but every time we've moved, I found stuff in the pantry that's like 3+ years old. All right. I'm just toss it in the garbage. But you do an inventory before just like willy-nilly throwing everything out. And the point I'm trying to make here, and hopefully I'm doing a decent job of this, is that your thoughts are the same way. You want to take an inventory of what you're thinking because some of it is helpful, some of it's important, right? Thinking about work, your job, your career, whatever that is. The stuff that you think about when you're there, thoughts about your family and caring for them and all that stuff. Like, all of that is useful, right? So we don't want to throw everything away. We want to take an inventory specifically when it comes to the thoughts you're thinking about yourself and determine, is this useful? Is this helpful? Or is it harmful? Is it old? Is it stale? Because yes, we can have stale thoughts that are lingering in our brain that are no longer serving us. They're no longer serving the person we've become in present day. But we're still thinking them. We're still believing them. and it's time for a refresh, right? So this is why we want to take an inventory, notice what we're thinking, get it on paper, write it out, pay attention. I call these the top tunes, okay? Pay attention to the top tunes that you're telling yourself. Like, what is on your playlist? All right, if we want to talk about it in terms of music, what are the top tunes you're telling yourself every single day? It might be eye opening for some people. And it was for me when I first started this work. And listen, even now, 10 years into this, 10 years since I first hired my very first life coach and learned about all of this, I will still find old stale thoughts that pop up. Because here's the other thing, the average human brain thinks approximately 60,000 thoughts in a day. Okay. 60. That's 60,000 thoughts in a day. I know I've shared that before. Always blows my mind when I think about that. That's a lot of thoughts, okay? That's a lot of sentences scrolling across your brain. I always think about it like the ticker tape on the stock market. Let's not talk about the stock market, okay? Bad example, Amy. Bad example. But especially this week, right? Anyway, we're not going to go there, okay? There are lots of outlets for you to get that kind of information. This is not one of them. All right. So we think about the thoughts, 60,000 thoughts on average that we're thinking every single day. Like, we're not even aware of half the thoughts we're thinking, probably even a quarter of them, right? But I like to think of it like that ticker tape just kind of scrolling across your brain. And you can catch, you notice some of them, you catch some of them, but some of them become so repetitive and just on this constant loop that we're not even like aware of it. Okay. This is where mindfulness comes in. This is the whole meaning of being mindful, being aware, being self-aware, recognizing the thoughts that you're thinking, the thoughts that you're saying to yourself, the way you're talking to yourself. And listen, this is all like it's the internal thought. So it's that the quiet voice that you maybe don't say out loud. And it's also the words you say out loud. Okay. It's both. It's the way you talk about yourself to other people. It's the way you talk about yourself to yourself. It's the way you think about yourself. Okay. It's all of it. These are your thoughts. This is what plays in your brain every single day. And when you are frustrated with yourself because things aren't going a certain way, and I'm going to talk specifically, let's talk about weight loss, because this is a really common one, especially in the work that I do and the work I've done on myself, right? When the scale is not moving in the direction you wish to be going, okay? So when that number's not going down as quickly as one would hope, or maybe it's not budging at all, as has been the case for me for the last several months, okay? Although I have noticed a slight move, so there's that. But when that happens, what are you saying to yourself? This is always a really good one this is a good example to start to recognize your top tunes, the top things that you're saying to yourself on a regular basis when it comes to this particular situation. Okay. So let's use this is a great example. Let's say you're on a weight loss journey, you want to lose some weight, you're getting on the scale, it's not budging, maybe it's going up, it's definitely not moving as fast as you like. That's a thought, by the way. What are you saying to yourself? What are your top tunes in that kind of a situation? Write them down. Here's what mine used to be. This isn't working. This isn't working. I'm doing something wrong. What am I doing wrong? Now, here's a little side note. The questions, sometimes we will turn thoughts into a question. So it will be something like, what am I doing wrong? Okay. That's a thought. The thought is, I'm doing something wrong. It's just, we're kind of brilliant this way, where we turn it into a question that really has no answer. Because there is no answer to that question, okay? I mean, maybe sometimes there is, like, yeah, maybe the pizza from last night didn't help. Okay. But a lot of times when we're asking it in that way, there is no direct answer. We're just kind of like, I don't know, like, what am I doing wrong? What's wrong with me? Okay. There's nothing wrong with you. That question is hiding the thought that you think there's something wrong with you. That's not a helpful thought. Okay. Hi, there's something wrong with me. Not helpful, not going to get you where you want to go. So, taking an inventory of your thoughts is incredibly helpful so that you can see the thoughts that are stale, that are old, that maybe need to be replaced. Okay. And again, I'm thinking of the pantry, right? When I had like seasonings and all kinds of different things that were old, right? It's always that stuff. It's like the seasonings you got for a recipe you tried maybe 2 years ago and you just never made it again. And those seasonings or ingredients or whatever are still sitting in your pantry. And it's like 2-3 years later, and you're like, I probably need to get rid of this. If I'm going to make it again, I can replace it. Okay. We're doing the same thing with our thoughts here. All right. Recognizing what's outdated, what's stale, what needs to be replaced. All right. And I think this is really important. And I wrote this down. And so I'm gonna read what I wrote down in hopes that I'm articulating it in the best way. Thoughts, here's what happens. Okay. We think these thoughts on repeat every day. So there's something wrong with me. This isn't working. Um, I'm not doing as well as I should be. Okay. And again, I'm talking specifically to weight loss. All right. But this could apply to anything. Okay. So whatever, maybe there's something you're working on. You get where I'm going with this. All right. So there are certain thoughts that we're thinking on a loop, repetitive, same ones over and over and over and over and over again. Okay. Maybe we've been thinking them for years. There's something wrong with me. I can't do this. This doesn't work. Those thoughts become habits. Thoughts can become habits. Okay. And because you like habitual thoughts, right? You're thinking the same thing over and over and over again. Thinking that thought is a habit. All right. One of my, I have a bunch of them. What are some of my, I've shared them before here. What are some of my old ones that I used to think? I'll never lose this weight. I'll be fat forever. Right. That was one I used to think all the time. I'm just destined to be fat. Oh, that was one of my old habitual thoughts that I would think on repeat, gosh, probably every single day, right? And so that thought became a habit. And when we're keeping those thoughts, and listen, when I was thinking that thought, I'm destined to be fat forever, I was still very actively pursuing weight loss. So let's just picture this for a second, okay? Think about it. Here I am doing anything and everything I can find under the sun to lose weight. All right. Some things, doing some dangerous things at some points of my life. All right. I remember one in particular. It was like a Hollywood diet. Maybe you remember this one. This would have been from like the early 2000s. Or like, no, like a hydroxy cutter. Well, there was a Hollywood diet. And then there was also like a hydroxy cutter, like a pill or something. I don't know. I just remember the Hollywood diet. I remember doing that one. And I thought I was going to pass out because you were like drinking some beverage. And then the pills I was taking, I just remember this was in early 2000 because I remember where my husband Garrett and I were living at the time. We were in Stamford, Connecticut. And I just remember him looking at me. I was sitting on the sofa and he was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, why?" He's like, "Your face is beet red. Like, are you okay?" And I think it was like elevating my blood pressure so much. Okay, so that's what I mean by unhealthy things, like just all these different unhealthy ways to lose weight. So here I was participating in any way and every way to lose weight. All right, because that was my goal for like most of my life. And at the same time, I have this repetitive thought that I'm destined to be fat forever, that I'm never going to lose this weight. And yeah, I'm giggling at that right now because I've done enough work to see how those two are not going to help each other. Okay? That thought, I'm destined to be fat, I'm never going to lose this weight, those are two thoughts. Those thoughts were not helping me lose weight. In fact, those thoughts were kind of like speed bumps or roadblocks, okay? Getting in the way of what I wanted to accomplish because I was believing those things about myself, that I was destined to be fat forever and that I was never going to lose this weight. And so here I was on one hand, like a duck pedaling, paddling real fast underwater, kind of just going in circles because I'm believing these thoughts. You see how that works? Not helpful. But these thoughts had become habitual. I was thinking them on an everyday basis. And so thoughts become habits. And that's why when we do make big changes, like we do lose a significant amount of weight, okay? Or we do, make a big change, we still struggle. Have you ever noticed that? I'm going to stay with the weight loss example because it just goes with the theme. All right. I mean, let's face it. I've shared this before. Most of the people who come to work with me do want to lose weight. It's something they've been struggling with for most of their lives, which was the case with me as well. So that's why I'm just going to continue to use this as an example, but please insert whatever goal you're working on for yourself for this, for this to work for you. So when we make big changes, so we do lose the weight, but we're still hanging on to these old habitual thoughts, there's still going to be a struggle. Okay. And that is because, and I love this. I love that I wrote this. All right. This was just a thought that popped into my head and I journaled it. This was a couple weeks ago, but I'm just finally bringing it to you now. Okay. Let me bring myself in here. I'm getting excited to share this. All right. Thoughts become habits. That's why when we make big changes, we can still struggle. That is because we haven't upgraded our thoughts. And so we're operating with stale thoughts. Okay. So here we've made this change. I mean, I could think of this any of the dozens of times I lost a significant amount of weight, right? I lost 20 pounds, but still thinking, this isn't working. This is taking too long. Oh my God, why bother? What's the point? Also, thoughts that were turned into questions, you see. What's the point as a question just means I'm thinking there is no point. It's a really sneaky way to avoid a thought by turning it into a question. So just notice when you're asking yourself questions, turn it around to a statement. That's the actual thought that you're thinking. Okay. Some ninja level stuff we do with our brains. So the why bother? Yeah, there's no point in doing this. I'm not going to bother. Okay. Those thoughts with this change, the thoughts are going to override it and I'm going to still continue to stay in the struggle. This is a struggle. That's a thought. Habitual thought, probably not helpful. Definitely not helpful. Okay. So this is what I mean when I say the thoughts that you're thinking can be more important than the stuff you're doing, than the food you're consuming, than the exercise you're completing. And this was really apparent to me when I had lost the 100 pounds in 2013. Hello, huge accomplishment, right? And I can remember hitting that goal, realizing, oh my gosh, I've lost 100 pounds from my highest weight ever, and still thinking it's not enough. It's not enough. I still look terrible. I still can't wear the size I want to wear because at that point in my life, 2013, I was still very focused on a number, like the number The size of jeans I was wearing was still very important to me back in 2013. I was still very much focused on, oh, if only I could get into a size 8, or if only I could get into a size 6. Like that, I was making that mean something. And I know a lot of people make that mean something, and I'm just here to say that the size doesn't matter, okay? Really doesn't. I'm going to go on another tangent. If you take like women's denim is like, this is like a famous experiment, right? You can take different brands of jeans, all the same number size, and they're all going to be a different size. Like, this is why in my closet, currently present day, I have jeans anywhere between the sizes of 5 to 10. Okay. And I can wear every single pair of them. The fives are a little tight right now. And that's still because of my Christmas pounds. I'm not going to talk about that. But yeah, there some of them are a little snug right now. Those are my Judy Blues. I wear a 5 in Judy Blue typically. Right now I'm more of a 7. But my point in this is I have I have jeans anywhere from a size 5 to a size 10 in my closet. And like the 7s, the 8s, the 10s, I wear them. So like the number is meaningless. Who cares? Anyway, but these are some of the thoughts that I was thinking when I had lost that 100 pounds. Like, ooh, I still want to, like, I still need to lose more. I need to get in that smaller size of jeans. Like, this isn't good enough. Where I'm at, hitting 100-pound weight loss, still not good enough. I still want to weigh less. I am still not acceptable where I'm at. That was the general theme of what I was thinking. Yeah, sure, I was proud of myself. Yeah, sure, I had people telling me how great I looked. I did that, the famous little post on Facebook, the before and after, like, look at me, and got all the compliments. Fantastic. Didn't and for me, even hearing all the compliments, you look great. Oh my gosh, blah blah blah. And they were genuine and people were very kind. And I don't want to take that away from them, because they were. Internally, inside, I was still telling myself, you're not good enough. This isn't enough. You need to lose more. You're not good where you're at. Okay. And what I'm saying about all of that, the whole point to this ramble today, is that thinking, that was the stale thinking that got in my way and sabotaged me. Okay. 2 weeks later, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and quickly gained back 30 pounds. I mean, that's a whole other story, but you know that by now, right? Because high breast cancer was stressful, and I was still stress eating and binge eating at that time of my life. But hopefully you're seeing the connection between the thoughts and how they can get in your way and create a sabotage loop. Okay? This is why, like, because when you're thinking negatively about yourself, like, just try this on for size. And listen, I know a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people who struggle with their weight, and who like they participate in emotional eating. These things go hand in hand for a lot of people, myself included, throughout my life. When you are continuously telling yourself hurtful, negative things about yourself. So when you're repeating statements like, I look terrible, I look fat today, I'm never going to do this, this isn't working, whatever it is you say to yourself, whatever your top tunes are, those thoughts don't feel good. They leave you feeling what? Defeated, hopeless, frustrated, overwhelmed, anxious, worried. You pick the emotion. You get where I'm going. And when you feel that way and you struggle with emotional eating, you see how this works. You're going, when food is that old habit to buffer those negative feelings, you know what's going to happen. When you're feeling frustrated, defeated, hopeless, overwhelmed, anxious, scared, angry and food has become the source of comfort, you're gonna go eat. That's going to be one of the things you do, or some other activities that you participate in to try to make yourself feel better, to buffer those feelings. Could be scrolling social media, could be zoning out on TV, could be drinking, could be smoking, could be whatever thing it is, right? Obviously, in my realm of the world, in this little space, I talk about emotional eating because that is one of the buffers that my clients do. That's what I did, right? So you continue doing that because you're feeling like crap because you're literally consuming the thoughts that you're then going to have to go buffer with food. And this just keeps you in the cycle, rinse and repeat over and over and over again until you're willing to wake up and snap out of it and do something different. And that something different, I mean, listen, it could be a lot of different things. I talk about learning to listen to your body. I mean, this is why fat to fierce is those three main pillars, right? It's fierce mind, fierce body, fierce heart. Mind is talking about the thoughts. It is talking about the thoughts that we're thinking, the thoughts that we're consuming every single day. Take an inventory of them. Are they helpful or harmful? Are they keeping these same habits repeating over and over again, right? The fierce body is learning to listen to your body, learning to reconnect with your body, learning to become friends with your body. The fierce heart is the emotions, right? Recognizing like, yes, all emotions are part of the human experience. There are times in life when we're going to feel sad. There are times in life when we're going to feel frustrated. That's normal. It's learning to manage those emotions in a healthy way, right? Versus, stuffing them with food or any other self-destructive behavior. So each of these pillars is key in Fat to Fierce in learning to overcome your habits with food and form a healthy relationship with both food, with food, your body, and yourself, right? I was going to say both food and your body, but also yourself. Anyway, so the thoughts are one piece of this. You can start with any of them. I typically start with the relationship with food. In the Fat to Fierce program, the self-study program you can get on my website, we start with the fierce mind, right? We start immediately by looking at the thoughts that we're thinking every single day, because these thoughts are going to impact your behaviors. This is the way that it works. You can Google this. You can search on the tons of people over the centuries that have talked about the way thoughts impact your feelings and your behaviors. Thoughts impact your actions. It's just the way that we work. And so you've got to really start to recognize the thoughts that you're consuming, that you're thinking every single day, and start to question them. Are they true? What else could be true? What can you think instead? What else could be true is such a powerful question because it really helps you identify a better feeling thought. And listen, if you're somebody who has been thinking negatively about yourself for a really long time, specifically as it pertains to your body and your habits with food, okay? It's it's going to take practice and repetition, and you're not going to come out perhaps thinking a positive thought immediately. All right. For me, I'll share this with you. For me in particular, I have been in a very negative space. Like I was in a very negative space for a big portion of my life. And so it wasn't just about, well, just change the thought, like just change the thought. And I mean, I got to a point with some of the coaches out there where I was just like, oh, if I hear one more life coach talk about changing your thoughts. For me, it was more like I really had to work at it. I really had to, understand a little bit more about myself. It didn't feel as easy to just switch my thoughts, switch your thoughts, switch your life. Okay. took effort. And I couldn't just, like, if I was thinking, oh, I'm so fat, it wasn't realistic for me to think I'm not fat. Okay, that like didn't that's not going to work. You can't bullshit yourself out of this, all right? So it's about coming up with different thoughts that maybe feel neutral. Okay, they might not feel positive, but they feel neutral, or they feel even just a teeny weeny bit better than the original thought. And I think I've shared before where I would think I'm so fat or I'm destined to be fat. And my new thought, so what else could be true, was, well, I'm destined to be me, right? I'm me. I'm Amy instead of I'm fat, right? Or instead of I'm destined to be fat, I'm destined to be me. That was enough for me to kind of get out of the negative loop and have another thought to land on. And that's kind of the point of this, right? You want to find another thought that feels true, doesn't necessarily mean it feels better, could just feel neutral. Like I'm me, to me that feels very neutral. Like I'm me. Yeah, that's true. It feels neutral and it feels better than continuing to tell myself, "Oh, I'm so fat." All right? Hopefully you're seeing how this works. So the idea is to come up with another option that feels true and just a twinge better. And you just continuously start to repeat that one to yourself. Okay. You start to find evidence of how that's true. Finding evidence of how it's true that I'm me, I'm Amy. I mean, hi. I am that evidence, right? But you find evidence to support your new thought, your new sentence. And that's what's going to help you switch that. And then the beautiful part is when you notice the old thought coming through, now you're aware of it. Okay, this is the beauty of becoming aware of your thoughts, of taking that inventory. Yes, I know it's painful at first, but when you start to take this inventory and you're aware of those culprits, you're aware of those thoughts that are just not helping, when they come back, because they're going to come back, okay? In the beginning, they're going to come back. When they come, you're aware of them now. You see them, you recognize them. You're like, oh, I'm thinking that thought. I'm thinking that stinky thought that I don't like anymore. You're aware of it. You notice it. And in that moment, you're able to say, oh, that's not helpful anymore. I don't want to think that thought anymore. Here, I came up with this one instead. This is what I want to think. This is how you start to manage your mind. Okay. And managing your mind, listen, this is not just for the life coaches of the world. All right. This is for anybody and everybody. And I swear, if more people knew how to do this, our world would be a much better place. That's probably a topic for another show. But my point is, this is for anybody to be able to do. Okay. Does it take time? Absolutely. It takes time. It takes practice. And it again, as with all of this, it takes a willingness to want to change. I know not everybody's up for the task. That's okay. You do you. But chances are, if you're listening to this episode, if you've listened to any of the episodes on this podcast, then chances are good you're hoping to change. You're hoping to make a difference, to do something different, to feel better about yourself and your journey, whatever that journey is. So if that's you, if you're listening to this right now and you're hearing these words, okay, then you already have that willingness. So now maybe it's time to put that willingness into practice, okay? Taking it, just sit down and notice the thoughts you're saying to yourself. One of the earliest exercises I did, oh my gosh, I forgot about this one. This is going way back into the early days of me with life coaching. But what they had us do, this was when I was in coach training, I think, or it might have been when I worked with my first coach. Anyway, it was back in the day. What they would have us do is like every hour, every waking hour, have a notebook with you. And obviously, like if you're at work, this might not be feasible. Okay. So you do it when it works for you, when it's convenient, right? But you got to do it. It's the whole point in what I'm about to share. You have a notebook handy, and every hour you just check in with yourself. What am I thinking right now? What thoughts are going through my brain? What am I telling myself? What am I saying to myself? For me, because remember, when I started all of this stuff in the world of coaching, I was still working at my corporate job. And at the time, I had a lot of negative thoughts about myself and my work. And so I would check in, like, what am I thinking right now? Oh, I'm thinking that I didn't do a good job on this, or I'm thinking that I'm going to get fired. I used to think that all the time. Anyway, it was a really old thought. Um, I was comparing myself to others, right? Or I was just thinking like whatever. And so I would write it all down. And this is capturing your thoughts. Okay, this is like self-awareness. This is really identifying, seeing the thoughts that you're thinking, and then being able to go through them and ask, like, is this helpful? Do I want to keep this one? What's the date on this one, right? Has this expired? Is this stale? That's how you start this, right? So you take a day, you go through, you check in every few hours, write down what you're thinking, start to see. A really beautiful exercise. This is one that I share with my clients. So it's up to you if you want to give it a whirl. Take a day, and during your waking hours, so when you're awake, not when you're asleep, obviously, set an alarm to go off every hour. And just when it goes off, write down whatever you're thinking. Write down whatever thoughts are crossing your brain. And at the end of that day, look at all the thoughts and circle any repeat offenders. So any that you've thought more than once, okay? This gives you a really good idea at what you're thinking typically. And then with the ones that, and we all have thoughts that we repeat throughout the day, okay? So you take a look at each of those and you just start to question them. Okay, how does this thought feel? I've noticed I thought this 5 times today. How does this thought feel? Do I want to continue thinking this? Is this helpful or harmful? What else could be true? What could I think instead? And do I have evidence to support that is accurate for me to think as well? Okay. And does that feel better? Okay. So that's the process that you can go through. All right. Fierce mind. Okay. This is what it's all about. You got to build that fierce mind and start thinking thoughts that are going to put you where you want to be, where you want to go, how you want to feel, what you want to be doing. All right. It's a power move and it's important. All right. Listen, I hope you have a great week. I hope things are going well for you. And I hope that this is helpful because really you could use this for anything. It doesn't just have to be in the world of food, body weight, and all that other stuff. You could use this for anything. Just really notice what you're thinking and if those thoughts are serving you and what else could be true. All right. I hope you have a good one. Bye. Are you ready to break free from stress eating and body shaming? It's time to get fierce. Fat to Fierce is a self-paced program that helps you build a new foundation of strength and balance without the toxic dieting mindset. This non-diet approach focuses on mindful eating, body acceptance, and lasting transformation. It's time to reclaim your power and find peace with food, your body, and yourself. Visit amyenglishcc.com to get started today.